So maybe I can start off with a quick introduction of myself for those who maybe don't know. My name is Josh Davila. I'm a writer, a podcaster for this platform that I created called the Blockchain Socialist. And so part of my kind of mm, journey has been largely revolved around the crypto world, but trying to understand it through a more left-wing political position and framework. And this is something that's, for maybe additional context for people, why it's interesting or why it was something that I felt like I needed to do is because the crypto space is generally filled with a lot of right-wing ideology and right-wing assumptions about how the world works. And you can see this in their memes. You can see this in uh, a lot of things. You can see it in the code of Bitcoin itself in many ways, I would argue. And so I kind of found it being someone who works in the crypto space, having a kind of uh, a certain type of optimism about it, or a certain type of like things that I'm interested in it from a political point of view, but is seldom kind of expressed. Kind of is the reason why I started my blog and podcast. And as well, I'm a founder of a cooperative called Breadchain Cooperative, where we build kind of post-capitalist crypto applications, where we, yeah, kind of build applications that are meant to be not within the same type of logic as what much of the crypto space kind of is, which is largely around speculations, around like different forms of gambling, like these types of things that we're less interested in, and instead of using it for something that um, has a more collective nature to it rather than trying to enrich oneself. Um, and so yeah, so today we're I think last time we spoke a bit about the philosophy undergirding Doge as far as the roots of that philosophy being rooted in kind of this right-wing philosophy, often referred to as the Dark Enlightenment. Some of the people that you may hear as being kind of inspirational in that field or that kind of milieu includes Curtis Yarvin, also known as Mencius Moldbug, is kind of like his online name. Curtis Yarvin has been interviewed recently because of the win of Trump and a lot of people kind of noticing a lot of the similarities in the things that he writes about and advocates for and the relationship between Trump and Elon Musk. The kind of biggest or like most among many kind of shocking things that they believe in is in kind of I wouldn't even say strongman politics, but just like dictatorship or monarchy as being the best form of government as opposed to a democracy or a republic or something like that. Their view, Curtis Yarvin, is that we should have a kind of free market of dictatorships that we can choose to be a part of or not be a part of. And he writes this in his book. Patchwork is one kind of big example of that, where he describes the Holy Roman Empire as being one of the best times of human history because it's whenever if you look at the map of the Holy Roman Empire, it's like hundreds or thousands of different little kingdoms, each with their own border, each with their own like lord that is sovereign of that. And yeah, that being kind of this kind of fantasy, really, because it's not really historically accurate, of people being able to like get up and move and dedicate themselves to a different king than the one that they were at before that they maybe didn't like. And so there's a lot of kind of similarities between that and, um, uh, a lot of the things that like Elon Musk has said that he's like advocated for, that he's like, there is this weird kind of, the kind of capitalist equivalent of a king is kind of a billionaire. So there's a lot of things that mirror a lot of the work of Curtis Yarvin, and there are known kind of links between Elon Musk, Curtis Yarvin, therefore also Trump, etc. And um, Curtis Yarvin has even, I think it was back in 2014, I want to say, stated that he believed that Elon Musk should be the king of America in one sense of the word. So those are like some of the things that we talked about last time, just to give people to remind them or to in case they weren't there. And I think for this talk, we wanted to talk more about memes specifically, which just so happened to be something that I spoke about with my partner Beth McCarthy in a conference recently, and we also published an article about it that I believe was shared before. And so, yeah, it's this article called MEMECRAFT, Narrative Dynamics, Discursive Control, and Capital in Crypto Culture. And it just kind of describes how, specifically looking at the crypto space, um, the use of memes also oftentimes kind of lends itself well to financial capital or like the ability to make a lot of profit. And this is something that is fairly novel about it in many ways that memes existed before crypto was the thing. But what crypto does is it allows memes to become a speculative object. And this kind of connection, therefore, created a lot of downstream effects that, I mean, were probably not thought about at the time. For example, like the most obvious thing is Doge, so the Department of Government Efficiency. You may know of it as Elon Musk's attempt at trying to kind of cut a bunch of government programs and create like intense forms of austerity within the US government and it's kind of what's left of its welfare apparatus. Doge, you may also know as being a meme that came from the internet of a Shiba Inu dog that had a bunch of like funny text with it. And it also being the reference for Dogecoin, which itself is a cryptocurrency. And so Elon Musk uh, decided strategically, I would argue, to name the government bureaucracy that he became head of as the Department of Government Efficiency as a way to also leverage the Doge meme for his own ends and to kind of as a way to mask the kind of insanity or like yeah, kind of like I would argue kind of horrific things that he's doing within the government and cut slashing away the kind of little bits of welfare. Dark Enlightenment associated memes and like groups. I mean, you guess there's a couple different strategies in the use of memes. One is, of course, a kind of like push. I mean, they're all trying to push the Overton window to the right. Like they're all trying to make more right-wing, racist, kind of fascist things more normalized, like a hyper normalization of like this type of right-wing thinking. But off the way that they do it, because there's one way to do it to where you just like say racist things and then stick to it and just like be unapologetic about it. Another way of doing that is to say it with a cute face. Like there's something about the use of memes in this kind of context where they often use like cuteness as a way to get their message across by because it gives it a packaging like it gives it a veneer of something that is not harmful when in reality it is. Yeah, like Hello Kitty coming to kill you. It's one way to think about it. So those are like some like high level kind of use of memes that they do. Um, yeah, as well, just kind of like the breakdown of like refusing to be to recognize the other one as human is kind of like the more hardcore type of way of doing it. Um, so yeah, so I mean, like maybe I'm not sure if we want to. I can kind of I don't know if people like read the article that that was shared before, but I can kind of um, talk about at least the way in which memes are. I guess I mean it sounds like to me like people were wanting to know more about kind of what memes are. I think we like a lot of people kind of know abstractly what they are when they see it. You can know that that's a meme. It's an internet meme. But maybe I can go into yeah, some of the like more foundational things that like help understand what these are. Would that be helpful?
I think well, I mean we're all on Zoom, so that means we all, have seen a meme before. I think maybe to summarize, to yes, go to like the foundational portions of it of why they work, and then also perhaps how to make you might suck at making memes, but like if you wanted to counter meme, how do you get whatever group that you're in to see the value in that? Because it's tough to come to a group and say, we're gonna need some people to start making memes. And they might not see the value in that. They'd be like, but why? We should be focusing on other stuff. Maybe how to bring that to a group. And then Angela says, more looking for difference between a good meme and a lame meme. Because nobody wants to be the one with the cringe memes. They want good memes. And maybe that's into volume and practice, but everyone's gonna make a cringe meme. How do you get better at making your memes not lame?
Yeah, I mean those are good questions. So maybe let's work our way up to that just to make sure we're all kind of like have the same uh foundation. Yeah, so I'll kind of describe what so the term meme was coined by Richard Dawkins in his 1976 book, The Selfish Gene. You may have heard of his name before because he's the kind of the British guy who is like very yeah, kind of like pop I don't know if I could say it this way, but like popularized atheism. I think especially in I want to say like the either late 2000s, early 2010s time period. He's a biologist, evolutionary biologist, and he made this term as a way to describe a unit of cultural information. And so what he means by that is it's like an idea, it could be a type of behavior, it's a style that spreads within a particular culture, in the same way that a gene would spread through genetics. So he combines this term uh, genes and mimema. I'm not sure how to say it. It's a Greek word um, that means to like imitate. And so was talking about it more in the context of like culture in humans. So this was like very pre-internet. This term already existed. But then it took on a very different meaning once it entered into the internet, or once the internet kind of started to create memes, or started to create like very recognizable images or text that could be rapidly reproduced online and kind of spread virally quickly. It was just something that was like not just like fairly novel, you know, at the time. And so they're units of cultural information. Um, and so the way that at least I understand memes is that um, at least when it comes to like internet memes, but I think this is also very applicable to uh, even memes in the way that like Dawkins describes it, is that it's not just a like unit kind of is slightly misleading, I think. It's not like a unit in the sense it's like one discrete object or thing, but it's really what makes a good meme or what makes a meme stick is that it's a bundle of a lot of things at once. It can be like it's not just, you know, the image of the Doge dog. It's also like the it's the cuteness. It's like the words that go along with that image. It's like your feelings with that piece of media. And kind of what makes a good meme is there being more layers of richness, and that this has kind of um, the complexity of this has increased a lot just as the internet has kind of continued to exist, I think. Um, and so, like, the way that in the article I tried to describe memes is like an ETF or an exchange traded fund, which is like in finance, this is a thing that you buy in order to have ownership of a lot of different types of stocks that are not, that are all maybe in like the same space. So, like, you can buy an ETF for green energy. So that means that inside that ETF are multiple stocks that are all like companies that are building solar panels or windmills or things like that. It's like a green ETF. Um, and so in that way, memes are kind of bundles of different types of media kind of jumbled up together, and as well as like human feelings. Um, and so like this existed and was a thing for a good while. And then cryptocurrency came along. And cryptocurrency, for those who maybe don't know so much about it, you can basically think of it as um, an investable digital thing. So, like Bitcoin, although cryptocurrency kind of tries to pretend to be like money, I would say you don't really want to. I wouldn't make that same comparison. It's more of like a financial object. It's like a stock, um, except a stock is usually regulated through some sort of agency, the SEC or whatever else, and it has some sort of it's attached to some sort of business, like legal entity with a business and a revenue model, hopefully. A cryptocurrency doesn't necessarily need those things. It is kind of more of a speculative object. So people speculate on stocks, but people, I think the level of speculation in cryptocurrency is significantly more, and therefore the swings in prices are also significantly more. But the way in which that like a lot of cryptocurrencies came about is by imitating memes. So like Dogecoin. Dogecoin was simply meant to be a joke. It was something that a couple of guys made to make fun of cryptocurrency, actually. And it ended up being something that continues to exist and started and accidentally started something that they didn't realize would come out of it, which is meme coins. And so a lot of other cryptocurrency projects began to do similar. And so now you created kind of like a meme which has like multifaceted type of association with it for lots of different types of people because they like knew the Doge meme from the internet and whatever else, but also they can speculate on that meme. They can, buy the coin or sell the coin based on the movements of price of it. And there is some sort of implied association of Doge of meme coins and whatever meme that they're associated with, like being associated with the use of that meme in other places, if that makes sense. So Elon making the Department of Government Efficiency called Doge also in many ways helps Dogecoin implicitly. There's nothing that forces it, but it's because of those who engage in the speculation of cryptocurrencies broadly use that as an opportunity to speculate, if that makes sense.
So to
Mhm.
bring it to like the non-crypto example, maybe something that another example would be like, remember before we had the internet, everybody would just quote movie quotes at each other all the time. And if you're, let's say you're in the movie business and people stop saying, Luke, I am your father to each other, then you should be concerned, because you know that you're sort of leaving the zeitgeist. And like like I have a structured settlement and I need cash now. JG Wentworth, 877 cash now. Like once the people, once the jingle leaves the zeitgeist, you're screwed. You don't, you're never going to get that back, or it'd be very difficult. So I feel like what you're saying in like the using non-crypto example is you pick the beloved mascot, and you don't really have a jingle that didn't really carry over. You might have some catchphrases, and then because your activity, like in Doge, is attached to it, people are more willing to accept. Like, why would the Shiba Inu hurt me? It's like not going to happen. And if you're into crypto, you can say like, I'll buy more of the Shiba Inu. It's in the atmosphere, like it's going up. We're going to the moon. And it just like you just swallow the whole pill because it is like approachable, it's comfortable. Um, and other things might seem like not cute, but rather like cringe. Um, so it's just more like it's like marketing, but with like gambling attached and extra cuteness and coolness as well. Um,
There's a fine line between like a meme and a brand and like marketing for sure. Um, yeah, it's they're difficult to kind of like piece apart necessarily. Um, so yeah, it is in many, it has been for a long time in the in a brand's interest to have a meme associated with it to make them memorable, something that is like easily repeatable and easily able to go viral, in the hopes that it would also produce profits for the company. Um, so yeah, I think that I mean that's like a very that's what makes kind of memes an art, I think, in many ways. Like it's really, in my view, as someone who makes memes every once in a while, but not like all the time, I think what makes a meme good is if it can articulate something that a lot of people are feeling, but have maybe not been able to wrap it in like a punchy way, if that makes sense, to like um make it really tight kind of image that you can just share and people understand that um, that feeling that the meme kind of elicits. And so when I say like a good meme is one that has like very rich layers within it, really, in my mind, that's kind of like how 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 much of a thing can you describe or a feeling can you describe or how many like how feelings like multiple and like situations within a singular meme within that unit, and the more you can kind of fit in that in a sense, not necessarily more but like uh the more that people like get an emotional reaction out of it, kind of the better it becomes.
this perhaps is a good explanation of why the minion memes aren't very good because the minions are essentially like placeholders, right? If you've never seen Despicable Me, I've only seen one of the movies. Uh, they don't. You can just delete them and it would change basically nothing. Like Garfield and the Minion memes are very similar in the type of things that they convey, but Garfield has a rich, like he's an individual with a rich backstory and like personal preferences. The Minions are not. So I think that's sort of what makes them sort of weak sauce memes. When if you would just replace a meme, one of the Minions with a Garfield, it would immediately change the whole tone of the thing, even though the whole image might be very similar. I'm just finally clicked for me why the minion sort of devoid of meaning aside from like
Yeah,
there's nothing to them really.
I was never really into the Minion memes, but I also
Neither
never
am
really
I, but like I'm just
watched.
like why aren't you into them? And maybe that's why.
Yeah.
It's because there's nothing there. It's I think people want to share something that could be conveyed with an emoji or two
Mm.
words, but they want to do it. They're sort of like cargo culting it, or they want to take up. They're like in some sort of image-based medium, and if you put this text, nobody will read it. So it's more like I need to make my space bigger. Like I need to put my elbows in, and the elbows are in the shape of minions.
Hmm. Yeah. And like, yeah, never, it was never my thing. But so I think maybe another kind of aspect about this that would be interesting to touch upon that we use the example of the crypto space just because memes are like pretty often used in the crypto space in order to um, kind of like memes are because cryptocurrency and getting into cryptocurrency is kind of like an internet native thing, if you can call it that. Like it's something that most people get into because it's something they come across the internet. Internet culture is also a big part of it at the same time. And people, uh, when they get into crypto, kind of one of the more difficult parts in the beginning is that there's a lot of language and terms um, that aren't immediately understandable at the get-go. And so um, the uh, it kind of takes a lot of effort in order to begin to understand it. But the way that it kind of happens is that memes will be the way in which people relate to one another within the crypto space. And so, the way that it kind of happens often is that you um, So I was explaining how, like, in the crypto space, memes are really often like a way in which people relate to one another. And the memes that are produced are ones that are relatable to being in the crypto space. So, like often because crypto is so volatile, one of the memes that are kind of the first ones that people come across are ones that express like how difficult it is to like deal with holding an asset that is so volatile. Like, so like one of the memes is hodling, like HODL, which is like an intentional misspelling of hold, like to hold an asset, but instead they say hodl, and that's related to like a forum post that was posted like 10 years ago of this guy who said he was drunk and he was like typing out all these things in this forum post, but then he didn't uh yeah, he just like kept going on and on about it, and it was like a very funny event that happened. And so HODL is a meme that like is very common in the crypto space, and you identify yourself as being part of the crypto space by using these memes as well. Um, so like memes are also a way, I think, even in like dark enlightenment groups or right-wing groups, and even also in left-wing groups, we use memes or terms that help us identify with one another. And this isn't necessarily like, you know, specific to the internet, even like you can argue that you can identify yourself as being Catholic because you say certain words that are um, uh, that specifically Catholics know, or like terms or whatever else that they know. So this is kind of like a big part of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think tarot is a super useful vehicle for like um, having an existing structure that abstracted away from whether you like believe in it or not, or think that it has a capacity for, predicting things or whatever. Like it's super useful for these kind of components that build on each other and have this kind of, agreed upon shared meaning. So I think, yeah, this would be an amazing exercise because then if you're thinking about these kind of like wider primitives that it taps into, like for example, if you were to do exercise of like defining like the major arcana together, and there if there's these known meanings of like the what does the tower card look like for your particular context, and the discussion of that would go something like how do we represent like um a significant rupture of change that brings forth like the next part of a cycle or something like that. So yeah, this would be a really cool level of meaning making for sure. I
Um,
think in the term of tarot, and like, not to get too much in a rabbit hole about that, but I think it's also like, the structures within tarot are kind of a stand-in for these like primal archetypes as well. Like super recommend like there's a lot of writing around like Carl Jung's work, like, getting expressed through tarot and stuff like that, where it's like, there might not be an identification with like a king or like a hierophant, like Pope figure or whatever, but I think it's more like, what is a structuring force look like when it's imposing rules and order as a way of structuring versus a structuring force that's like, um, you know, one that filters ideologies into action. And, then you could kind of abstract away from being like, there's, a king and like a pope or whatever, these different things, and be like, what is the thing in my culture, like my frame of reference that is able to kind of express that same archetype. And yeah, that would be a really cool practice and yeah, a really interesting workshop to do.
Good strategies for making memes, in my view at least, is to make memes collectively, like with your friends, I think is like a really fun exercise. So I mean, the so I've been a part of groups where we would have a conference that was maybe a few days long, and at the end of the conference, we would have like a an hour session where we would all make memes in a room together. And we would all just like someone, we would be in a room, there would be like a projector, and someone would be like showing all the memes that people are submitting into like a group chat or something like that. So everyone is kind of like collectively seeing the memes as they're being shared and going through. And I think it's a really nice exercise to kind of, because then the memes would be about the experience that we just
Yeah.
collectively had. It would be like there wouldn't necessarily be a reason for these memes to be for the public or to go viral, but it was just for us to enjoy. So it's like a really nice, I think, exercise to do together to make a little meme about like some funny events that happened during your collective experience of some sort of event. So I can imagine making, having a collective time to make memes about being at the Tesla Takedown protest or whatever else with your groups um, is also a way of like reinforcing the relationships that you have one another and that shared experience. Um,
Yeah, I mean, and it's
yeah.
also like a way to stay connected, even when you're not with that same group. And also, I mean, I was added to the group chat where these memes got shared, even though I was not even able to come to that event because our friends were referencing them so frequently that they were like, you just have to be in the group chat and see these memes. So then it became also a snapshot of how that group of people was like thinking about certain topics at a time. And yeah, I think it had a lot of, a wider and longer lasting resonance because of that, like meaning making that they did together. So yeah.
I mean, my feeling is that this is where like memes are kind of an art, where it's hard to say what necessarily is the right like language to use. Um, like by using existing, I mean, I think this extends beyond just syntax or language, but like referencing something that already exists, like gives you the opportunity to tap into like the relationship that people have with that structure, with that thing. But also sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it can be seen as cheap or just like overdone. Like this is really when I think it becomes an art where you can't
Yeah.
necessarily just redo the same thing because things get stale.
But it's also like, using a known format is a shortcut to projecting that meaning. It's like, if you're trying to make a complex statement about, any situation where there's ignoring a familiar thing to like have your attention grabbed by a new thing, you can always use that, like, guy turning around away from his girlfriend meme. And then it's like everybody knows that the visual format of that thing signifies this thing, so then you can, have a
Yeah.
step less of understanding. I also think it's interesting with the IP one. I was just thinking like, if you guys are familiar with this meme format from like Star Wars Episode 3 or whatever it is, where there's like, Anakin and the girl like sitting in the flower field, and then it's always like, you're gonna do this thing, right? And like I was thinking about what y'all were saying with the Smurfs, and like whether that, like how much it's necessary to be familiar with like the story arc of like those characters in Star Wars and their context to like understand that meme. And um
Mm.
like, and yeah, the fact that, inherent as in it is the fact that there's like Anakin's dark side that's not known by Queen Amidala. And like, do you need to know that context for that meme to be resonant? I don't know, but a
Yeah.
useful one to think about. Um,
It's a very like Baudrillard type of thing of like sometimes the image itself just becomes its own thing to where its original intent or meaning is lost and is no longer kind of
mm,
necessary anymore just because the image has been used so much. People already know without needing to watch Star Wars. But yeah.
yeah.